We all know there are several ways to monetize a website or a YouTube channel. Now, through our experience, we've found that the most profitable way in most niches is through info products. Now, quick, before you leave saying that's not gonna work for me, it doesn't apply to my niche, I want you to give me just a few minutes because I've come up with some cool ideas for niches where people would naturally feel like this doesn't apply, or at least that it's gonna be really hard. If you're not sure what I'm talking about when I say info products, or if you're ready to get started and you just wanna learn more about how to be successful creating them, I invite you to go watch this video. I'll link in the description as well. It'll just walk you through all that stuff. Now, when it comes to info products, it seems with a lot of informational websites, a lot of how-to stuff, the things that a lot of us are creating niche websites about, it seems pretty easy, right? Let me give you an example. In gardening, right? There's so much to teach. There's so much information available. There's a lot that can be said just on a website giving tips and stuff, but there's a lot that you could dive in deep on. It seems like it'd be super easy. A couple of ideas here might be things like teaching design for like laying out a beautiful garden, like a flower garden. So for example, last summer, we talked to my sister who does landscape design, or at least used to, and she helped us plan out just an awesome little gardenscape. It's not something that I naturally have the skills to do. Could you create a video course that teaches people the principles of good landscape design? I think you absolutely could if that were your niche, if that were something you had expertise in. Could you teach people what kind of plants go well together? The types of plants that do better in more shaded areas? Kind of how to identify what's full sun and what's partial sun and what's, that kind of stuff. Video guides showing the process of planting, plant feeding and nutrition, what sort of ground cover to lay down, or what sort of plants to use to help keep weeds at bay. All sorts of information that you could put out there, including going just like region specific or climate specific. Man, the opportunities here for the gardening niche feel pretty endless. But what about some of those niches where it's not that way? A lot of these that are maybe less on the information heavy side and a little bit more on maybe the entertainment side or the opinion side. Let's dive into some of those next. The first is gaming. I've actually got this question a lot. I have a site or maybe a YouTube channel about gaming. What sort of info product could I make? Well, if you do have people that read your blog, if you have people that watch your channel, is there a chance any of them would like to play the game with you and get tips in game? Is that something that you could do? Could you set up, people pay for an hour of your time and you schedule it and you go play with them for an hour over the internet? Absolutely, you could do that. But let's say you don't want those time-specific ones, right? Let's say that you want something that you could just put together information and just sell it over and over and over again in your sleep and never have to do the work again. Well, what if you taught people your approach to a specific game, how you succeed in that game, but beyond that also how to enjoy the play by finding all the cool hidden Easter eggs and sort of the hidden objectives and stuff that are in the game, helping people find those sorts of things. Now, a lot of that information is gonna be available sporadically on the web, but walking people through start to finish on a game and sort of giving them that to help them have that best experience, that seems like a kind of a product I'd pay a little bit of money for to help make a game more fun. What if you took that a step further? If you're the type of gamer that's good at a lot of games, what if you taught people your methodology for when you get a new game? How do you approach the game to find the cool stuff? How do you approach the game to be as successful at it as possible from the very beginning? How do you, as a gamer, get really good at brand new games so much faster than everybody else? That could be a really cool product. You say, okay, Ricky, but what if my site is maybe in the humor space, or maybe it's kind of on the entertainment side, or even news, right? And I'm kind of grouping all of these together because there is some similarity between them. It's not so much information, it's purely just entertaining to read, or it's informing, but it's new stuff every day it's not all necessarily about one little thing, right? Well, let me give you an example here. There's a webcomic that I used to read back when I had a normal day job and a lot of time every day sitting in front of a computer, often with not enough work to do. And it was xkcd.com. They just put out a new webcomic. It was like every day back then. I haven't seen it for a while. I'm a little busier now for some reason. Okay, anyway, I decided to check because I was curious. I thought if I were them, I would totally put some of these together into a book, whether it's physical or in a digital format. but put some of the most popular ones together so that you can just have them, right? They totally did that. That's something that a lot of people would want to go purchase if they're fans of it. They also have a whole ton of other merch as well. That's not necessarily an info product, but that's definitely something that can be done to monetize specifically that kind of a website. But what about more on the news and entertainment side, or entertainment news side? In this space, it feels like a members only podcast would be ideal, be awesome, and something that a lot of people would be willing to pay for, to subscribe to, not for a lot of money, but it is something that you could potentially get a lot of people on, and it scales really, really, really well. So let me give you some ideas of what that podcast could contain, because coming up with topics for podcasts, especially daily, can feel really intimidating. But what if you just take the information that you're already putting on that blog, especially if you're in news and entertainment, you're probably putting out content very, very often. Take the headlines and summarize it in a daily podcast. What if you add some analysis that's kind of beyond or in addition to what's already written on the blog, where you kind of go into it in a little bit more depth? And if you find yourself more on the humor or the comedy side of things, what if you could teach other people how to be a little bit more funny? What if you could teach them just how to be interesting at, social gatherings and stuff? If humor is your thing, you probably have skills that a lot of people are lacking. And if they're coming to your website just to get your humor and enjoy that humor, they still may be really interested in learning how to generate some of that humor for themselves. What if we're in a very product-focused niche? I have a super product-heavy website. It's making money with affiliate. Let's say it's in the technology space, right? I review technology products. What have you got for me? Well, user guides and things like that, you're not going to be able to really create. They exist pretty well. Between what manufacturers put out and what other people are making in videos on YouTube and writing articles about, it's pretty tough to put together a user guide for a specific product and sell that as an info product. But what if you take one specific use case? Maybe it's a home entertainment setup, it's a television sound system, kind of that whole thing, right? And you've got maybe your different tiers that you want to set up. Maybe you put together an audio guide that talks people through the technology side of things, just the principles, the foundational principles of the technology and how to choose a good product. How to know what's a good product. I mean, you go to the store and you see a whole bunch of 4K TVs up on the wall, and they are not all the same, but a lot of the numbers that they put on them look the same. There's some huge differences, and most people are not going to know what they are. So helping people identify what those differences are so that they can pick the right thing for them could be great. And then making a recommendation of specific products that go really well together, and then putting together the full setup guide for that all could be bundled together. And while it may not be something you can charge hundreds of dollars for, maybe something that's fairly inexpensive, if you can sell people on the idea that they're going to save time and money and have a product that's just going to be better for longer, it's going to be a pretty easy sell to make. And it doesn't have to be a product that takes you a whole lot to put together if this is an area where you do have expertise. I got a tough one. How about sleep? Look, sleep is a tough niche to get into simply because there are quite a few people on it. It falls a little bit into that medical side of things. It doesn't seem like there's just like a ton of information to share. And so it feels like it's really tough. And it can be tough to really break through if that is your sole focus of your site. However, if you've succeeded and you are getting traffic in that niche, I do think there are some cool opportunities for you, just like everybody else. First of all, what if you put together sort of your approach to sleep as a full guide? Now on your site, of course, you're going to have a lot of this information already shared, spread throughout a whole bunch of different articles. But what if you kind of put it all together? You've decided that your kind of focus is on natural remedies for helping people sleep better. And so you don't want to use any sort of like chemical sleep aids and stuff. So you kind of have your whole regimen that you use. This is sort of my entry level, what's going to help people sleep in general. These are the essential oils that I use. This is what I listen to. This is just all the things that I do to make sure that I have the best sleep environment. And then if that's not working for you, this is sort of the next level of how to dive in and make that sleep better. Or maybe it did work and you got sleep, but here's how we make it more restful. And you kind of walk people through that whole process to the point where they're getting really good, really restful sleep consistently without chemical sleep aids. It's a pretty cool process that you could walk people through, again, step by step by step. But along with that, what if you gave people a cool checklist and then either a video or an audio companion that goes with it that walks people through a sleep audit? Maybe it starts by walking them through the space where they do their sleeping to identify the things that might be preventing them from having really restful sleep. You know, the bed, just the environment, the lighting, the distractions, and all the things that are going on in there to help them identify those and remediate any of those issues that are preventing them from getting good sleep. That would be a really cool product. And then maybe there's also a checklist of just like their sleep experience, the things that happen. And again, it's a full audit of what happens for them when they sleep. And then based upon the findings of that audit, you have specific recommendations. That's a cool companion to go with your course. And then in addition to that, what if you gave them some MP3 tracks that they could listen to as sleep tracks? You know, there are a lot of sleep tracks already out there, but what if you gave them sort of some that you've put together, again, based upon your sleep methodology? They're maybe going to be a little bit different than the other sleep tracks that are out there. And again, it's a nice companion to have in addition to these other pieces that make your bundle a little bit more valuable than if it were just any of those one things alone. What about if my whole website is just following a specific sports team? What am I supposed to do there? Well, this really falls into the kind of the news and entertainment side of things, right? A podcast, maybe it can't be daily, right? Because sports news for one specific team doesn't necessarily have daily stuff to talk about. And so maybe it's a weekly podcast. Maybe it has to slow down a little bit in the off season, or maybe in the off season, you can find all the cool information about what's going on with the players on the team and the training and the trading that's going on between teams and the contracts that people are signing and all that kind of stuff that the fans want to know. And you put that together in a cool podcast that people can listen to. What if at the end of every season, you put together kind of a season breakdown, just your analysis of the team, what they did and how the season went, and what changes you think they should make, and what changes you think maybe they're going to make, and what you think kind of the outlook for the team is going forward. And maybe that's something that people can buy each year for a little bit of money, or maybe it's something that, again, comes to those members who are subscribed to the podcast. In addition to that, maybe you do have a private members only fan group. It could be hosted somewhere like Facebook, even in a private group, where only members get to participate, but they get to have that dialogue back and forth with each other and talk about the team, and it's something that you participate in. If you have people that are following you and like your analysis of that team, they're gonna love being able to interact with you in that private community and be able to kind of get your take on specific things that they've been thinking about related to that team. What if the niche is making a specific thing? I know this sounds like really vague. No, but what if it's like making a certain craft or a certain food or a certain beverage, and it's just the whole thing is about that beverage, right? But on your website or on your YouTube channel, you've really already generally taught people what you have to teach them about that particular thing. You know, that might feel, again, like there's nothing more to say. What am I supposed to say? But what people are often willing to pay for, again, is that step by step by step process from very start to very end. What are all of the raw materials that I need, right? If it's a craft or if it's a food item, what are all of the ingredients? What are all the raw materials? What are all the tools that I need? Which ones exactly do you recommend? Where should I get them? And then walk me through that entire process step by step by step. And then give me some way to know. Maybe it's through some video content, maybe it's through kind of a checklist, depending upon what the product is, but give me some way to know if my finished product is what it's supposed to be, right? Did it work out the way it was supposed to? Maybe it's about crocheting and you taught them how to make a specific pattern and you found that people tend to have a couple of specific issues and you help them identify if they made those mistakes along the way, and that way they can correct them. Maybe in addition to the guide that's teaching them this whole process, you can give them some printouts that they can have, those cheat sheets to just have in front of them while they're working on that, so they're not necessarily having to always refer back to the videos every single time they want to work on this product. Those kinds of printouts can help, again, make a course with some video content is just substantially more helpful and more valuable for them. And then once again, private community for people that have purchased your info product so they can talk to each other, they can get tips from each other, you can participate in that discussion with them. And along those same lines, people often like to have discussions about how they've taken what you taught and then they've added their own variants on top of that to make other variants, other versions of the same product. It's just a really, really cool way to engage and for them to engage with each other and get an even better experience than they had if they just learned the things that you have to say. All right, so if I've convinced you or helped you at least brainstorm some ideas in those tougher niches, I really do invite you to go check out the 10-day info product course as part of Project 24. It's gonna walk you through step by step exactly how to create and sell these info products. And it's even got a workbook, right, that you fill out as you go along the way. It gives you exercises to help you identify exactly the type of product you should create, design the product, create the product, and sell the product so that you can bring so much more value to those users that are coming to your site and be able to earn an income from the value that you're creating in a better way than you're currently doing.